Hello children and welcome to our special English hour. Here we will learn lots of new things and have lots of fun. Are you all ready? Let's get started. We will start our day with a fun tongue twister. This is a new tongue twister. This tongue twister sounds very simple, but when you try to say it, you could fumble. Are you all ready? The tongue twister is I saw a kitten in the kitchen. Sounds confusing? I'll say it one more time. I saw a kitten eating chicken in the kitchen. This was a bit difficult for me too. Let's see if we can say it a little faster. I saw a kitten eating chicken in the kitchen. I saw a kitten eating chicken in the kitchen. I saw a kitten eating cat. Oops. I could not say it fast. Were you able to? If you were not, please have a look at the tongue twister on the screen and make a note of it in your notebooks. And later, try to say this tongue twister fast 5 times. Children, can you tell me what are the things that we see in the sky at night? At night, we see the moon and the stars in the sky. Do you like stargazing? I love stargazing, even as a child and now. These days, I have an app on my phone where if I point my phone towards the sky, I can see everything with great details. You need to take your phone and point towards the sky, and each star or planet or constellation will be named. Isn't it interesting? I love stargazing. But if you live in a city, you would understand that because of pollution, it gets very difficult to see the stars. But if you go outside your city, you can see the sky clearly. It is just amazing to lie down and gaze at the sky at night. There is no other feeling greater than this. Can you all tell me why do the stars shine so brightly in the sky? It is pretty simple. In the night, there is no sun in the sky. And as we all know, sun is a star and sun is the brightest star. And since sun is not in the sky at night, the stars shine brighter. Now, I have another question for you. What is the color of the moon? Moon is white in color. But sometimes you may feel that moon is yellow in color, right? It all depends on how far is the moon. The farthest the moon is from Earth, it looks white, and if it is closer, it will look yellow. We all know that it is very important for us to learn new words in order to learn a language. So now, let's learn some new words from the poem. Lovely, lovely, lovely. It is a lovely weather today. Lonely, lonely, lonely. The dog was feeling very lonely. Silver, silver, silver. She was wearing silver bangles. Crown, crown, crown. The queen was wearing a pretty crown. Peep, peep, peep. He had to peep out of his window. Please open page number 38 of your Bal Bharati textbook. I will be reading this poem and I request you to point at the words as I read them. And if you don't have a textbook, listen to me carefully. There's a silver house in the lovely sky, as round as a silver crown. It takes 2 weeks to build it up and 2 to pull it down. In this stanza, the poet John Lee is describing the moon. He says that the moon is like a silver house in the sky. Why do you think he calls him a silver house? Because the color of the moon appears to be silver. He further says that it looks like a crown which is silver in color. Why do you think he must be calling it a crown? The poet calls the moon a crown because it shines in the sky and it is also round in shape. Thus, the poet is describing the beauty of the moon. The poet also says that it takes 2 weeks for the moon to get up and 2 weeks to get down. What do you think is the poet talking about here? Here, the poet is talking about the phases of the moon and they last for 2 weeks each. So, he says it takes 2 weeks for the moon to get up and 2 weeks to get down. There's a man who lives in the silver house in a lonely sort of way. But what his name is no one knows or no one likes to say. Here, the poet is talking about a lonely man. This man is lonely and he lives in a silver house. Nobody knows what is the name of this man and nobody wants to tell. Yet, when you go to bed tonight, just draw the window blind and peep out at the silver moon, this lonely man to find. Here, the poet is comparing the moon to a lonely man. He is calling the moon a lonely man because he lives alone in a silver house. The poet also says that we should open our blinds in the night and peep out of our window. Why do you think the poet says that? He asks us to open our window and peep out and look at the moon because the moon is lonely. If we look at him once, he might feel good, which is why he asks us to look at the moon before we go to bed. But if his house is taken down and all the sky is bare, then go to bed because of course the poor man won't be there. The poet asks us to look outside our window and look at the moon. But he says that if you don't see the silver house, then you must go to bed. What does he mean by that? Here, the poet is actually talking about the different phases of the moon. If it is a clear sky and there is no moon in the night, it means that the moon will be only up after 2 weeks, which is why we must go to bed. Now, let's do an activity. On the screen, you will see the poem to find out the rhyming words from the poem. Can you all do it? Your time starts now. Children, were you able to find the rhyming words? Let's have a look. The first pair is crown, down. The second pair is weigh and say. The third pair is blind and find. And the last pair is bare and there. I hope you all were able to find the rhyming words. We learned a lot of new things about the moon. We also did some fun activities. Now it's time for you to sit back and relax while I tell you a wonderful story. The name of the story is Fold to the Moon and it is written by Aryaman Basu. Ayan was a very curious child and the things that fascinated him the most were moon and the space. Ever since he was a child, he always wanted to visit the moon. Just like all of us. Even when I was a child, I was very curious as to how does everything happen. I used to always wonder, why does the moon follow us? Or why is the sky blue? Or how does everything stay on the ground and why don't things float? Just like that, Ayan was also very curious. He had read everything about the moon. He used to watch so many videos about our planet or space. Ayan had read many books about the moon. He had watched many videos about the space. He knew the name of every single person who had left this planet. Ayan was also a very intelligent child. If you ever wanted to find where Ayan was, you would always find him in the school library. And if he wasn't there, then you would find him with his telescope gazing at the stars or the moon. Ayan's ultimate dream for the past 10 years had been to be an astronaut. He wanted to be an astronaut ever since he had learned about the space. But this was going to take too long, and Ayan was very impatient. He just could not wait to leave this planet. Ayan would sit with his telescope every day and look at the moon. The more and more he gazed at the moon, the more he became sad. He wanted to go to the moon as soon as possible. Ayan was sad as he could not do it immediately, and his family members had seen this. They decided to talk to him about this. One day, his grandfather approaches him. He told his grandfather that this weight is killing him and he just wants to go to the moon as soon as possible because he felt that he has worked very hard. To this, his grandfather replies that he understands that Ayan has worked very hard. But one must also have patience, because patience is the key to success. Just then, Ayan smiled and he said, "Grandpa, you have a construction business. Why don't you build a bridge there?" And to that, his grandfather smiled and he said that that's not possible. But where there is a will, there is a way. One day, when Ayan and his family were sitting on the dinner table, Ayan noticed something strange. He noticed that the table was wobbling. And at that moment, his grandfather picked up a piece of paper and folded it 3 times. Then he put it under the leg of the table, which was shaky. Now the table was stable. And at that very moment, Ayan thought of something. He was very excited. He hugged his grandfather and left. The next few days, Ayan barely left his room. All he did was read, think, and draw. Everyone was worried, but Ayan did not have any time to waste. He kept on thinking, reading, and drawing. One day, he went to his grandfather and he told him that he would like to visit his construction site. His grandfather was taken by surprise, but he still did not object. Once they reached the factory, Ayan had a lot of questions about every machine there. He was very excited. When they reached back home, Ayan locked himself in his room again and he only came out of his room after 5 days. And then he had a smile on his face. After Ayan came out of his room, he went to his grandfather and he told him that he needs his grandfather's help. Ayan needed his grandfather's help to go to the moon. He was going to make a paper bridge to the moon and he would require his grandfather's machines to fold the paper. Ayan's grandfather was not at all convinced. He thought that this was a very strange idea. How could a bridge made out of paper stand still? And he told his grandson that this was a bad idea. But Ayan had a solution to that as well. He said that the quality of the paper is 0.1 centimeters thick, and if he folds it 3 times, it will become even more thick, which is why he can build a bridge to the moon. Ayan's grandfather was still not convinced. He was still doubtful as to how his plan was going to work. But Ayan had a solution to that as well. He said that he would require his grandfather's machines. His grandfather was not so sure, but he agreed to lend some of them. Ayan was very busy for the next few days. He went outside the city where there was flat land. He also used his grandfather's truck and mixer, and with that he created a paper where he could stand. Now he was trying to figure out how much paper he would require to make it very thick. Once the paper was dry, Ayan started folding it. He had to use many objects to make the paper stable. In the beginning, it was pretty simple, but as the folds kept on increasing, it became very difficult. It was a long way for him to build the bridge to the moon. Before Ayan knew it, the paper that he had folded had reached the moon. Now, he did not care about what was beneath him, because now he was looking at the sky. Thanks to Ayan's grandfather's technology, they were able to make this paper fold and make it reach to the moon. Now, they were folding it from both the ends, and the paper was strong. Before Ayan knew, he was wearing a makeshift spacesuit. He did not have to stand on the paper anymore. He was holding everything. He attached his belt and he jumped on it. Ayan was finally excited to step on the moon, but it was emptier than he had expected. There were craters that were so huge around him, but there was nothing else. Everything that was there on the moon was powdery, and he did enjoy the low level of gravity. But as he was walking, he saw something, and that surprised him. What Ayan sees is a large blue and green ball, and thanks to sun, it is lit up. Can you guess what it was? Yes, it was his own planet, the Earth. Ayan was so busy looking at the sky that he had forgotten to look down below, and it looked very beautiful. . Ayan was captivated by the beauty of earth and he now missed his home. He realized that he should head back home. So he waves a goodbye to the moon and decides to go back to his home. But he promises to return. So children, I hope you enjoyed today's session. For homework, I would request you to find out from your family members a poem about moon in your native language and then translate it in English. I would like to end this session on that note. Until then, take care and stay safe. Bye.